This is the history of the second generation Pontiac Firebird. An all-new Pontiac Firebird was introduced for 1970 and represented a new high for Pontiac styling. To give it a bumperless appearance, the front bumper and grille were molded out of Enduro rubber and painted the same color as the car. The sides sported rounded full-wheel cutouts without any extra trim. The Camaro had more squared-off wheel cutouts. The suspension was revised, and a rear stabilizer bar was added. The Firebird lineup was reduced from 6 to 4, and the convertible was eliminated. At the bottom of the lineup was the base Firebird, whose Pontiac 250i6 was replaced by a Chevy-built 250i6, rated at a meager 155 horsepower. Next up was the Esprit, which featured the Pontiac 350 V8, rated at 255 horsepower. The Formula 400 featured a unique twin-scooped hood, rated at 335 horsepower. At the top was the Trans Am, which was fitted with air dams across the bottom of the front and in front of the wheels. A large deck lid spoiler and small spoilers in front of the rear wheels completed the package. The aero pieces were claimed to generate 50 pounds of downforce on the front and rear of the car at highway speeds. Also standard on Trans Ams is a shaker hood scoop that feeds the Ram Air 2 engine in the rear. Optional on the Trans Am was the Ram Air 4 engine. Only 88 copies were made. Rarer still was the Ram Air 5. A 4-speed Hurst shifter was standard, but a 3-speed turbo hydromatic automatic was available. Inside, complete instrumentation, including a tach turned on its side to redline at 12 o'clock just like a race car, completed the performance image. Its European styling gave it some instant class, and its suspension was one of the best tuned of any car, including the Corvette. The Trans Am was now available in either polar white or lucent blue, with contrasting stripes, a relatively modest bird stencil at the tip of the nose, and the words Trans Am across the rear spoiler. The 1971 Pontiac Firebird saw little styling change, but it gained high back bucket seats. In order to satisfy General Motors' decree that all engines had to run on unleaded gasoline to meet federal emission standards, the engine options were significantly altered. The 455 high-output engine was the only engine available in the Trans Am. The blue and white paint scheme was retained by the Trans Am, as were the functional hood scoops and aero parts. Although the 455 engines available in the Trans Am were less powerful than the 1970 Ram Air 4 engine, their 480 foot-pound of torque and less temperamental nature made them easier to drive on the street, and were one of the high points in a time when performance was on the decline. 1972 was a disastrous year for Firebird. GM executives considered dropping the Firebird altogether, as sales fell drastically as the muscle car market collapsed, which was worsened by a crippling 174-day strike at the only plant that produced Firebirds. Pontiac executives were able to eventually save the Firebird, and it continued with very little change from 1971, except that its engines were now rated in net SEA numbers. Pontiac's famous honeycomb wheels also made their first appearance in 1972. Firebird saw some significant modifications in 1973, such as the addition of an egg crate grille and a new front bumper. Engine ratings were down again, with the 350 rated at a mere 150 horsepower and the 400 at 250 horsepower. But two things would save the Firebird and firmly established Pontiac as the performance manufacturer during the dark days of the 1970s. The first was the introduction of a new Super Duty 455 V8. Super Duty was the name Pontiac gave its high-performance engines in the early 1960s, and the Super Duty 455 was a street-legal race engine. The Firebird was the only remaining high-performance car in the market at the time, and its level of engine ratings were unheard of in an era of declining engine output from other manufacturers. The second major coupe for the Firebird was the introduction of a new Firebird decal on the Trans Am, which covered almost the entire hood and was quickly nicknamed the Screaming Chicken, which added to the excitement and popularity of the entire Firebird lineup. Sales of the Firebird and Trans Am were up dramatically, ensuring their survival. For 1974, Gone was the Endura bumper, replaced by federally mandated fiberglass front end with a slight wedge shape and rubber-covered 5-mile-per-hour bumpers. Rubber bumpers replaced the chrome rear bumper. All V8s included true dual exhausts, which made their last appearance on the Firebird. Also available for the last time on the 1974 Firebirds were the Muncie 4-speed manual transmission and the Turbo Hydromatic 400 automatic transmission. This would also be the last year of the Super Duty engines. In what had been a sea of pony car competitors, the Pontiac Firebird was all alone for 1975. The Camaro Z28, AMC Javelin, Plymouth Barracuda, and Dodge Challenger were all discontinued. The Ford Mustang was now offered on a Pinto platform and boasted a top engine offering of 105 horsepower, 2.8-liter V6. The 1975 Firebird featured a new front end and a much improved rear window, which greatly improved visibility. The instrument panel stayed the same, but the old 160 mph speedometer was replaced by a new 100 mph unit to better reflect the new times. 1976 would be the last year of the 455 engine and the first year of available T-tops. A new, more angular bumper was installed on all Firebird models, which improved their appearance. And Pontiac introduced the very popular black and gold Special Edition Trans Am, which quickly became one of the most famous Trans Ams of all time. In February, the limited edition Trans Am was introduced at the Chicago Auto Show. The LE Trans Am had Starlight black finish with gold striping, along with gold interior accents, gold honeycomb wheels, a 50th anniversary badge, plus more, including T-tops. 1977 saw a new Batmobile front end with quad square headlamps and ever more complex engine choices. But 1977 would be a year that firmly established the Firebird as the performance car of the 1970s. Burt Reynolds drove a black and gold Special Edition Trans Am in the unexpected movie hit Smokey and the Bandit that drove the Firebird's popularity and sales to new heights. Attempting to capitalize on its newfound popularity, Pontiac offered a slew of Special Edition Firebirds for its 1978 model, including a gold Trans Am with brown accents and blue Skybird and red Redbird Firebirds. Sales soared to a record 187,294 units. As the 1970s drew to a close, the 1979 Pontiac Firebird received a new nose with the 4 rectangular headlights all on their own bezels, and the split grille was moved below them. The rear end featured blackout panels, disguising the taillights on Formula and Trans Am models. A special silver 10th anniversary edition Trans Am was sold in what would be the last year for the Pontiac 400 engine, which were stockpiled from 1978. For 1980, Pontiac dropped its 400 V8 and installed a new turbocharged 301 4.9-liter V8 as its top engine choice. A Pontiac Trans Am paced the Indianapolis 500 race that year. Sales dropped considerably. By 1981, details regarding the forthcoming third-generation Firebird were about the worst-kept secrets in Detroit, with spy photos, reports, and rumors everywhere. Hype surrounding the new Firebirds made the old ones, which Pontiac was still selling, seem like yesterday's news. Well, there you have it, the history of the second-generation Pontiac Firebird. Which was your favorite year? We'd like to know. Leave us your comments below and do us a favor in sharing this video. If you like this video, leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that bell. Again, thanks for watching.